So the Dragonfly was basically, a new category of vehicle for Star Citizen. We'd worked with small spaceships, one-seater, two-seater, multi-crew. The ships were just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that was working for the universe. But now with 3.0 coming up, and us sort of going planet side, which we've just shown in the demos, Chris really was pushing for a personal vehicle, basically, essentially a space motorcycle, like a space hog. And so with that in mind, the Drake Dragonfly is kind of like the perfect candidate, because its styling is a little bit, it's a little bit lowbrow, it's quite mechanical, especially, we've just been dealing with the Caterpillar, and so.
Hi everybody, welcome to Reverse the Verse, special UK edition. It is Friday, September 2nd, 2016. I'm your host, Community Manager Jared Huckaby, and with me today, special guest, Squadron 42 Art Director, Mr. Paul Jones. How you doing, man?
Well, thank you. I'm doing all right, thanks, yeah.
So
it's good to be here.
We finally got you on our TV, man.
Yeah, somehow I've managed to avoid getting on camera.
Yeah, somehow you've managed to avoid it before now. But
every time the cameras come around, a meeting suddenly appears and I move off.
Yes, he's not joking about that. So I'll check a schedule. I'm like, hey, Paul, you want to be on a thing? And he's like, yeah, maybe I'll check my schedule. And then we check a schedule and meetings start popping up. And so I'm just teasing, man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us on RTV. Now, on yesterday's ATV, we just saw a clip of that. You shared with us some of the continuing development on the Drake Dragonfly.
Mm-hmm.
So real quick, what can you tell us about the Drake Dragonfly? What's it like working on that? What did you think when you first heard we're going to make a space motorcycle?
To be honest, I thought they were crazy. Just a lot of us were just like, what? But then, we start getting the design brief. And it was quite interesting, actually, because we were working with this. Initially, we kind of made a mistake right at the start. We were working with the smallest ship components because that was the brief we were working with. And, I was working with Gary and we were putting this ship together and it was just getting larger and larger as we put all the components in that needed to be there, or ship items. And so we showed Chris and we were like, yeah, look at this. It's amazing, right? And, Gary had done a good job on the initial sketch. And then Chris was like, well, it's too big. What are you doing? And we were just like, well, these are the the requirements we're working to. So he was like, well, just make what did we change it to? We went from small ship to vehicle components, basically. Yeah, and then basically the whole thing scaled down. Sounds super obvious, but it was just a simple mistake right at the start.
Yeah. You're going from the components that you would build a ship out of to the components you would build something like the Ursa out of.
Yeah, we were just so in the mindset of ship.
And that kind of thing happens because we don't fake anything. We actually build these ships and engine, all their components. I mean, yes, it's a virtual world, of course, but they are functional within that virtual world.
Oh yeah.
So you have to have all the components where they're supposed to be, how they can interact with each other, because folks will be able to damage those components, have to repair those components, stuff like that. So it's very important that all those things have a very real and very physical place.
Oh yeah, totally. And it's always a challenge for the concept guys because they've got this big laundry list of things that need to go in it. So they have this idea in their head, and then they have to sort of like massage it to basically fit all these pieces in. But one of the things I like about working with Gary is that he always gives. It's not. I don't think it's a problem. That would be a negative thing to say. He just gives me tons of options.
Yes, he does.
So you can tell the speed his head's going at, and he just gives me like 50 options, and I'm just like, I'll have a bit of this one, I'll have a bit of that, and a bit of that, and a bit of that. Change this, move these lines a little bit, make it a little more Drake.
It's a good problem to have, though.
Yeah, it is. And we initially started off too sort of. It was too sleek. It wasn't within the Drake sort of manufacturer line, so I was having to bring him back, sort of, dare I say, kind of make it a little more agricultural, sort of a little heavier in places, a little more exposed tech, less less sort of expensive types of manufacturing, basically.
Not a Bugatti.
Yeah.
Or Ducati.
Yeah,
Not a Ducati.
Bugatti.
Bugatti. I thought I went Bugatti and Ducati, and I merged them into something.
Together. Yeah.
Right.
So eventually we got it into the right place, and yeah. There you go.
Now, subscribers can actually look in the subscriber vault and see images from the development of the Dragonfly. We've released them, several galleries over the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, however long it's been since we first introduced the Dragonfly. So if you want to see some of those other variations that Gary put together, they're available in the subscriber vault. Now, Paul, we're going to start taking questions from the fans here.
Sure.
Before we get started with that, why don't you tell us a little bit about the work you do for Squadron 42? Your title is Squadron 42 Art Director, but you work for both Squadron 42 and Star Citizen.
Yeah, so initially it was Squadron 42 focused, and we were sort of defining what Squadron 42 was, and it touches on a lot of things: ships, environments, weapons, VFX, you name it. And currently, sort of the workload has shifted so that. And that's mainly because we've got more art directors now. So we've got Nathan in charge of ships, Ian in charge of environments. So I've at the moment I'm sort of focusing a lot on ship concepts, sails, FPS weapons, ship weapons, VFX, ship items, and props. So that's pretty much
just a couple things.
Yeah,
just a couple of things.
Yeah. So just spin those plates, and each day is always a crazy ride, because you just what you have to work with, but then things just come in, emergencies and stuff.
You did a great job on the Dragonfly brochure. I remember. I did I did the first kind of cheesy mock-up with my meager skills, and then you showed up like, oh, you mean like this?
I know, but we had a good base to work from. So
you laid it down. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'll just do those funny little ads, and so I'm sitting here trying to make the ads, at least somewhat up to the standards that you were putting together. So,
but it was good. I was properly like motivated, and like you saw, I was doing T-shirts and all crazy sorts of things.
Yes,
so.
there is a Dragonfly T-shirt that Paul designed that I'm not going to say we're going to sell it or anything. Just he did it on his own, and it is quite good. And I'll see if I can get permission and maybe show it on.
Maybe we'll just print a few of our own, and
just print two little Dragonfly shirts.
Yep.
All right. So with all that you're doing for Star Citizen, we're taking questions from general chat on the Robert Space Industries website. So you go to robertspaceindustries.com, log in with your Star Citizen account, go up to community up top, go down to chat below, and in the general tab, that's where we're collecting questions. You can do me a favor and preface your question with the word question in capital letters surrounded by brackets. That helps me pull it out from the other conversations that are going on inside the chat. Let's see. See if we've got any questions here. Now remember that Paul is essentially an art guy. You're an art guy. You're in charge of the way that things look.
The visuals.
So if you're asking questions like why does this ship go this fast?
I'm not going to be able to tell you.
Why does this thing sound like this thing? That's the audio team, not Paul. So remember to try to keep your questions art focused. So let's see. We have a question here. It says, will the Dragonfly planetary mode handling evolve, where hitting bumps you might get a bit more air? Now we did see some in-engine gameplay of the Dragonfly around the verse yesterday, and it does appear to take the terrain, the terrain below it into account with its handling. Now again, you're an art guy, not a physics programmer or a gameplay programmer. Was there any consideration in the building of the Dragonfly for how it would?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and that's kind of how like the Gravlev technology sort of came around, and we wanted these sort of pontoons so that. Dare I say, it harks back a little bit to Star Wars. Maybe it's pod.
It doesn't though.
It's a pod racer almost, isn't it? So you're always looking.
The words and opinions of Paul Jones do not reflect Cloud Imperium Games, Foundry 42, or its subsidiaries.
It's always, you're always looking for opportunities to sort of add extra cool. Basically, you don't just want a static vehicle. So, I think as our first sort of foray into this, it was a good start, and then. We've already this week we've been working on just some high level variants, manufacturer variants. You know, Chris has been mentioning it to me. You know, he didn't say start on it, but we had a bit of downtime, so I've had Gary on that doing a little secret Black Ops project.
Really, variants of the Dragonfly, or
No,
else?
just like other
other stuff we can't talk about yet.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and it's completely like we weren't following any brief. There's nothing from design. We were just making cool stuff. So
Off the reservation.
So we're just going to give it to Chris and just see what he thinks.
Cool. I've been trying to convince somebody that a stealth variant of the 300 series called the Origin 404, spaceship not found,
right.
would be a good idea.
Nice, yeah.
Nobody's been.
Oh, that's
Nobody's been interested. Here's another question from the chat. Why are there so many Drake logos on the Dragonfly? I swear there's like a dozen of them. That's probably an exaggeration. I don't think there are a dozen logos.
I think we do have a tendency to over brand our products, and where we are in the process of sort of reducing the manufacturer brand and then sort of changing it out to be the actual logo. So
gotcha. Well, it's
an easy thing to change anyway.
Yeah, when you're creating anything creative, it's easier to start big and reduce than it is to start small and try to build on that.
You know, it's classic, isn't it? And anything with Star Citizen, you know, you have the first generation, and then you tweak it, and then we tweak it again, and then hopefully she'll be pretty close to being done.
Well, that's game development. It's iterative.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
iterative. All right. It wouldn't be an RTV without a question about two very specific ships. We were joking about it. He didn't believe me before. I said, you're going to watch, and chat's going to fill up with questions about two specific ships that dominate the minds of our fandom. What can you tell us, if anything, about the Banu Merchantman?
So the Banu, that's a good one. So that one, so it's already had its first round concept, hasn't it? It's been sold. It's been sold.
Yeah, it's been sold.
And we're just in the process now of sort of spooling up to do second round concept. Because we do, you know, we're aware that it's been out there for a long time. People haven't got it yet. You know, it's not for sale. And so we're just in that process of lining up a concept artist, hopefully the same one who originally started on it, and going through the archetypes. So
gotcha.
Engineering, habitation.
Gotcha. Because the ship was originally concepted, there weren't Banu archetypes created yet.
No,
so, I mean, we weren't at that point in our overall development where we had archetypes for Anvil and Aegis and stuff like that. So part of the stage 2 concepting will be creating those Banu archetypes. What does a Banu engineering room look like? What does a Banu bridge look like and stuff? And that'll go into the revised concept of the Banu Merchantman.
And just a little more thinking about the technology, or what's the hook? What's the say with the Xi'an Scout, we had the that's when we started to do the sort of floating steps and the sort of again the Gravlev kind of technology. And again, just stopping and pausing for a little bit, have a little chat about what and we as a company we've got a lot better about sort of working together and just sort of going, well, this would be cool, or what is sort of what's missing from our palette of races, what would we like to see, and so that will all be part of this next round.
And when we talk about a revised, a second wave concept, we're not talking about drastic changes changes to the overall to the profile and stuff like that. We're talking about additive stuff. Things to enhance what's there, to better define it, to make it work within the game world.
I mean, the exterior, I think both me and Nate are happy with, and then it's pretty much the interior, just obviously making it flow better, working out materials, what are the Banu materials, what would we expect to see in this area, that area, and just sort of working out sort of essentially the style guide, so that for all the other ones, then we can, regardless of whether it goes out of house or stays in house, we have our rules that we stick to, and it's like, okay, it's this. And just makes it just a lot faster.
So that's on the schedule. That's in the works, waiting for an artist to come ready. Okay.
Yep.
And yes, I know, everybody. What can you tell us, if anything, about the Anvil Carrack?
So the Carrick, that's actually in a similar position. Probably will be tackled in-house. So it's had first round concept, hasn't it? It's been sold. And we've done a lot of Anvil small ships, and we pretty much have the style nailed for those. So we can bang them out. It's still like 2 months, 3 months work.
It's not easy work.
But it's now almost a production line, which is good. But for the larger ships, it will be the first one.
Yeah, it'll be the very first large multi-crew Anvil ship that we'll have to build out.
And it'll just be second round concept, work out the archetypes. What is an Anvil interior? What makes it cool? What's going to be the visual hook? And that's, like I said, I think that'll be internal, and I think it'll be Nathan who'll be handling most of that. So pass that one off.
All right. And let's see. Let's get one more. And then here's the next question. Polaris?
Polaris, yeah, that's in good shape. That one's looking really slick. We're now on to... we thought we were finished. And then Chris requested a few more visuals for it, so a few more interior shots. Phil Mellor wanted one extra action shot, so we'll provide that, and then we'll be moving on to the sort of full marketing material.
Gotcha. So the Polaris is the new the new Corvette to replace the Idris Corvette that evolved into a frigate. It's made by RSI.
Yep.
We're pretty far along, and something we hope to share with folks soon.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, it's one of the of the new ships. There's a lot of people internally who are like, yeah, I want that ship. So hopefully we're doing something right.
Yeah, we'll find out. All right, Paul, thank you so much. I told you the time's done. It goes by fast, doesn't it? Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and chat with us on RTV today, guys. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Nathan Dearsley.
Myself and Chris have had quite a few discussions regarding the dead ships. We're also quite both passionate about having planets that are potentially completely dedicated to ship salvage. So with the derelict ships, there's always, as explained, we want to take the stuff that already exists in the game, which are broken up parts of the ships, that once the ship suffers catastrophic damage, it breaks apart. How can we reuse these assets and kind of be very creative with them? The stuff that you saw in Gamescom was very much the first step of that. We are already progressing further with it. So the work that we're doing, as we've always explained, has always got a longer path. Obviously, we've got kind of 3.0 coming due at the end of the year. The work that we're doing does fit into that. Again, it's really kind of about kind of creating these options for design to have. So if you come across a derelict ship in space, don't be shocked. It's not a bug. It was always supposed to be there.
Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 for today's RTV, live from the UK with our second guest, art director, vehicle art director Nathan Dearsley. How you doing, man?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Good. This is your second RTV, man.
I want to eat the microphone. It's massive.
Yeah, well, it's designed to, I'm running the air conditioner here because I enjoy the finer things.
And I'm hungry. Hungry, but I can see now why the HUD helmet in the game works the way it does. Yeah, interesting. There we go.
All right. So, Nathan, you showed us last time on ATV, you showed us catastrophic damage of capital ships.
Yeah.
On yesterday's ATV, you brought out derelict starfare, not just in space, but down on the planet's surface.
Yep.
So what can you tell us about creating that? Why does that exist? Why do you do what you do? Put you on the spot.
Yeah, that is. No, it was always when we discussed like the Hydra stuff. It was always a plan to kind of start these passes on every ship. We done the Gamescom derelict, which was really kind of like the first step of that, and then from there it's kind of we've got these assets, we've got this cool kind of ship that the guys have made, and it's really about kind of taking those elements and getting creative with what we can do with those on terrain surfaces. So for sure, there's been inspiration from the episode 7 stuff, which is kind of very cool. LV-426 with the alien downship. There's these kind of call outs that you can kind of refer to. The most successful ones for me are always the ones that have got the emotion and the human aspect in there. So with the Starfarer, it's like, anyone can go along and kind of plow something into the sand and call it a day. But, I'm not saying that we're not going to do that, but there's also that kind of that emotional drive behind everything. So hence, someone's kind of made it their home. There's a little chimney there. There might be a little boiler in there. All these kind of little touches that we've got that stuff ready to go. So yeah, just kind of a little bit of ambient storytelling, which on the ship team we don't get to do too much of. It's more kind of environment driven, so it's a nice kind of break from that stuff. Obviously, production on the ships continues, but it's nice to kind of jump around a bit and like I say, just get kind of creative and tell a story without any dialogue. And if you can do that, you're kind of winning.
Just scoot closer because you're.
All right, sorry.
Sorry, come on. Sorry. There you go. Pretend you like me. You don't want to put your chair on top of my neck.
Getting a bit close here now.
So big surprise that LV 426 alien influence on something you worked on. Really?
No, not this one. Surprise. No, not this one at all. I've not looked at anything alien related.
Nothing alien related at all.
No, not for this one. No. It was very much kind of. I've wanted to do it for ages, and the planetary stuff when it's come on board, and we got the proper scattering system for the light, so we can totally drive like a proper kind of desert feel or a sunset or a sunrise. So it's just kind of go for it. It's by no means final. It'll probably end up kind of looking a bit better than that. But yeah, that was put together fairly rapidly. So the kind of the overall kind of approach for it all is to essentially have loads of these made with different kind of compositions, different stories, different layouts that design can
populate with NPCs and create missions.
Yeah, create missions, but it's also kind of like that feeds into the procedural system then. So yeah, I'm excited. There's a really good scene in Oblivion, the Tom Cruise movie, where he's just walking along this terrain and he just kind of falls through the glass. There's nothing there, and that excites me. So he falls through, and then all of a sudden he's in some sky. I think it's the Empire State Building. I'm not sure, but that's super cool. So like you could be walking along, and you could hear the sound of the terrain change. You just, okay, what's under there, and down you go. So visually, it could be interesting, but also visually it could be nothing until you're on top of it. So yeah, stuff like that. It's cool.
Gotcha. And those scenes that we saw in ATV yesterday, those are 100% in CryEngine. Those are rendered in engine, right?
Yes, yeah, 100%. You can actually, you can just run around the map now. It's all real time. That's the best thing about our engine is just everything that you see is what you play. So at any time, like I found myself today kind of with that scene because I'm just polishing it up a little bit more. Press Control G, you're in the game. And thinking about kind of gunplay, so vantage points, view distances, all these kind of how I've done a lot of multiplayer map design at Crytek, so it's kind of like that never leaves you. So it's like, okay, when I come out the door here, where are the weak spots, where are the vantage points, and every area should have, should we say, a cause and effect or an equal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So high risk, high reward kind of thing. It's that typical kind of Quake thing where it's like, okay, there's a turret on top of that ship. If I get there, it's going to be great, but it has to be risky to get there. So there's all these things that I'm already sort of thinking about with design as well. So it could be quite cool.
All right. So one of the questions that we've gotten quite often since we showed the catastrophic damage of the ships before, and now this. Will derelicts, are they procedurally created, or are they artist created and then placed within procedural worlds?
They're artist created, they're handcrafted. You have to do it. You have to do that to kind of get that quality. But then the plan is to have them procedurally distributed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you can create these pretty quickly now.
Yeah, that took that whole scene in that video took me 1 day.
1 day. 1 day. It's amazing.
No, I mean it's just like I say, all these things are coming on board now, and like obviously I didn't make all the assets in 1 day. It's all the editor work where you got your library of goodies, and you're just like, okay, go. We got all these kind of, the environment guys are creating all these kind of cool terrain things. So you get creative with what you got, and it's very much kind of the mythology at Crytek was that's kind of stuck with me as well, where we'd have these kind of libraries of just awesome stuff. Yeah. And there comes a point where you just have to work with what you've got, right? And that's what we've done here. And it's very much kind of early days, but that's Well,
that's game development though. It's the improvements are exponential. The first year on a project is not equal to the second year on a project. Is not equal to the fourth year on a project. I mean, the improvements and the speed at which you can create things just increases exponentially once you've got that foundation of systems in place.
It's you have to speculate to accumulate with game development. It's very kind of like you say, the development curve is very flat for quite a while. Then it kind of accelerates until you're pretty much on autopilot. And we're kind of approaching that crest now. In my opinion, we are. And I've got quite a bit of experience, and I've seen kind of several games kind of go out the door, AAA games, and yeah, it's all shiny from the outside, and all the trailers are great kind of when you see that stuff. But when you're actually involved in the project. It's really interesting to see. Yes, it's all there and it's working, but the real kind of push comes in the last kind of 6 months of development, because that's when all the systems are working in harmony, all the visuals are there, all the assets are there, and everyone's in tune. So it's a very human thing, developing games. It's what fascinates me the most about it. And it's why I started working because I used to work for myself. It's why I came back into working in the studio. So because I missed it, and yeah, it's that's the result. That 1 day thing is the result of all that, where you speculate to accumulate, you invest, and then the reward pays off later on. So yeah,
that's good. Damage shaders. Now, damage shaders are used commonly for smaller ships and stuff like that. This fan asks, are damage shaders something that can be implemented for larger ships like Idris's or stuff like that? Is it the same process? Do they scale?
It's really kind of a case of when you go up in scale, the construction techniques slightly change for everything. Even like the base, without even talking about shaders, the base modeling and everything has to be different because you have to render it all and it has to all fit in memory, right? But when it comes to like shaders, it's really kind of a case of authoring these shaders and being kind of clever with things like kind of detail maps. We have the facility to cake info into a second UV channel, so we can use that as a mask to bleed through. So every kind of ship, when you hit it at the moment, you get all this beautiful kind of we call it gubbins. This beautiful kind of mechanical detail starts coming through. With the capital ships, it's very much that, but kind of like times 10. Because it's the scale, right? So you will still dissolve meshes away, which we're doing at the moment. But what's underneath that with a capital ship is just generally far deeper. It's got far more lighting information in it, and again, you can kind of look at so much kind of successful IPs that have done this stuff in cinema. The Star Destroyer's got what we call kind of sandwich design approach of a cavity down the side, and it's okay. For me, if you took that top skin off and you took that bottom skin off, it's going to be all that. It's like R2D2, C3PO. He's got all that stuff kind of exposed. So it's like that, but on a magnitude of scale, and you need to think about that. Not for the flying of the ships thing. That's kind of easy to deal with because you're flying past things relatively fast. But what if someone gets out? And that's the really difficult thing about this project, is at any time anyone can stop their ship, EVA out, and study. So that's challenging.
That's a word for it.
Yeah. But we don't. it's more shader based. It's more shader driven, and yeah, lighting and effects are key. So yeah,
the lighting plays. You can't be understated the importance of lighting and creating a scene.
You can take the most beautiful asset in the world and put it in a bad lighting rig, and it will look bad. You can take the most subpar asset in the world, put it on a beautiful lighting rig, and it will look okay. It's like, people can make hair dryers look decent in catalogs. I want to buy one, right? But when you get it, it's like, oh, it doesn't quite look like the pictures did. Yeah. It's that kind of approach. Light is everything.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Was the planet featured in your segment the same planet used in the 3.0 demo at Gamescom?
No.
Different planet? Okay. Were the wind effects real? Is with the wind when things were flapping? Is that a component of the procedural planet, or is that something you added in specifically?
No, every planet, much like the original engine, the original engine has a what we call an environment tab, and in the environment tab you could change gravity, you could change the wind direction, the wind velocity, the wind, what we call kind of events. So they're like pulses, and then it kind of cool down. We're transferring all that info to a sphere, essentially, which is a planet, right? Where originally it was just on a flat plane, like a 4K terrain. Now we're doing it on a whole planet. And every I mean, I'm not going to speak for the VFX guys, but every VFX asset that's created directly ties into our wind system. So if there's wind on the planet, it will blow. If there isn't, it will just rise or kind of sit there, right? And that's how that's all driven. So you just increase the wind, and then you get this beautiful kind of directional kind of thing going across the movement. And then obviously, like, we're also already thinking about, like, okay, these beautiful kind of fields, and you see a field full of grass, and you get these waves going through the fields. So there's all those kind of things. I mean, I don't want to speak for the environment guys, but I'm thinking about, I want to put these things in these environments, and I want to play these systems to the advantage of the ships. So yeah, that's all 100% kind of driven by literally one kind of setting.
Awesome. How awesome is your job, Nathan? I bet it's pretty awesome.
It is awesome. I get to make spaceships all day. There's times when you sat in the studio and it's tough. It's really hard work. But you kind of have a reality check sometimes that, hey, I get to wake up and come into work and make sci-fi. So it's good, and the team are brilliant to work with as well. So
gotcha. Well, let's see if we can find one more question before we let you go now. Somebody asked, does that environment tab allow you to also change the water pane as well?
No.
Water plane as well?
Well, kind of. The new system with the planets, and I don't want to speak for the environment guys too much. But
you went in and you created an environment, Nathan.
No,
so.
I made a thing, and it's we have a sea level. A sea level that essentially you can change the radius of, and then you can change the radius of the planet itself. So that's how much that is driven. Like, again, the old system in the basic terrain editor had exactly the same thing, but it was just on a plane. So yeah, that's how the water will be dealt with. That's being looked at the moment.
Gotcha. Well, that about wraps us up, Nathan.
Sweet.
Told you to go by fast and easy.
Yeah.
You're our first two-time visitor on the new revamped Reverse the Verse. So
okay,
congratulations, you're in the lead. Although I think Paul Jones will be back soon enough, and he's going to try to catch up.
Awesome.
If you stop giving us awesome stuff for ATV every time we come back around, maybe somebody else can catch up.
Oh, we're working on something very awesome at the moment, but you're not going to see it for a little while.
And they say I'm a tease. If
I'm excited about it, and I don't get excited about much, but like, yeah, it's going to be good.
All right. So that's Vehicle Art Director Nathan Dearsley. I'm Community Manager Jared Huckaby. Thanks for tuning in to Reverse the Verse live from the UK. The Terrapin sale is still going on. It's through the weekend, so if you haven't had a chance to get your Terrapin, now's your chance. We are on the road to CitizenCon. October 9th, live from LA. We'll be showing you all kinds of stuff. Chris hinted at some maybe some Squadron 42 stuff during our Gamescom stream. I'm not allowed to share anything else. I also don't know anything else yet. But October 9th, that's coming up. So yeah, next week's Around the Verse circles back to Los Angeles, if I'm not mistaken. So look for that. Look for that next week. Again, Nathan, Jared, you guys are the awesome community. Thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers, guys.